Today we're going to go over packing rucks in preparation for our co-event. We're going to go over some of the SOP of the outside, the exterior of the ruck, and then we're going to go into packing on the inside, weight distribution, making sure that you don't hurt yourself and that your ruck is as comfortable as you can make it. So most of my straps are to SOP, right? The green, gray, and the black are what is acceptable. So these are examples of what is up to par, up to SOP. I do have one example of what is not up to SOP. So this is engineer tape. Engineer tape and taping your ruck is not in accordance with the unit standard. So don't do that. And if you guys need extra tape, I have extra tape for you to take to your rucks. Just return it to me when we're done. Now we're going to go to the components of the ruck. So you have your shoulder straps. Mine's beat to shit because I've kind of tortured it. The plastic frame, the kidney pads, the main cavern of the rucksack, and then your sustainment pouches. So now we're going to go into packing the actual interior of the ruck. So conventional wisdom is to have the light stuff on the bottom and the heavy stuff on top. That kind of misses one little nuance to it, which is your ruck should be packed heavy, right, with the heavy stuff on top, but also centered and close to your shoulder, because you want all the weight to be on the yoke of your shoulder, unless you're one of those weird individuals that really enjoys having a bunch of weight on their hips, but I don't know anybody like that, right? Yeah. We don't teach it that way. So all your heavy stuff at the top, which we're gonna show you in a second. So as an example, for light stuff on the bottom, there's this compartment on the bottom, right, which is perfect for your sleep system. Anything else that you have that's light is going to go down here to save the space for the heavy stuff in the upper portion. So OCPs, boots, if those are a part of the packing list, your helmet and your water source are going to be up here, whereas the lighter stuff, PT belts, like ear protection, that can be down here or in your sustainment pouches. There's also on most, or at least some of your guys' rucks, there's going to be a zipper separator that separates the two caverns of the ruck, right? So this bottom one, again, light stuff, reserve the other one for heavy stuff. I like mine zipped because that separates my gear in such a way that it's not moving around, so that it's like dislodged while I'm rucking. So consider when you're packing your stuff, what is the method that's going to ensure that your stuff doesn't start moving around on you. So we talked about packing from bottom, light stuff on the bottom, heavy stuff to the top. Also make sure that what you have packed is also centered, so you're not super heavy on your right, and you lean on your right foot and you hurt yourself, or the other direction as well. So I'm not going to unzip that, but that's what that's for. Looking at the top, right, so if your packing list contains a ACH, then in my opinion that's the heaviest thing that's going to be in your ruck, so I put that at the top. And then your water source, which is also going to be, right, so it's 3 liters. That's pretty heavy as far as what's going in your ruck goes, unless you're carrying batteries or magazines, which you're not going to in this unit. So keep that at the top, right, centered. And you can ensure that you're centering your stuff more by tightening the exterior straps more. So the more tight your ruck is, the higher up on your back it is, the more assurance you have that it's not going to move around on you while you're rucking. And then we pack real quick. If you guys didn't see, I have the water source wrapped around in such a way that I can access it easily while I'm rucking, because it sucks to take your ruck off just to drink water. Next, we're gonna go over like waterproofing a little bit. So I'm not gonna put my tarp or my waterproof bag inside my other waterproof bag, because these are already waterproofed, right? So when you go to schools like Jungle or any of the selections or anything like that, right, you're gonna want to waterproof your your stuff. To make sure that you have a clean pair, a nice and not wet pair of socks at the end of the night. So bag it, double bag it, whatever you got to do to make sure that it's good to go. For the co-event, you don't necessarily have to pack it like this. I mean, honestly, you can just take your tarps and your sleeping system and other things like that, and then just put a sack of rice, like a big old bag of rice, to meet the weight requirements. And then that should suffice.
Sorry, McLeod, for those that are interested in Jungle and or air assault, right, because they do have specific packing lists, the way that you have yours waterproofed, well effective, is that something that could get you gigged as far as packing lists and layout goes?
So that's a great question. No, they're not going to formally gig you on that. However, the most real life gig you will ever get is waking up to wet socks, which I did, and all my socks were wet for all of jungle, and it freaking
Seriously,
sucked.
just say real life gig.
Yeah, no, there's no reason to have a gig unless it affects you in the real world, and wet socks are the biggest freaking gig. So yeah, make sure you waterproof your shit because I see jungles in all of you. Okay, sustainment pouches, this is going to be the last thing that we go over. So, in my opinion, I think that the things that you should need the most are going to be in your sustainment pouches. So, like your ear protection, your eye protection, your gloves, and when you go to jungle, your rope systems. You're going to keep those in here, right? Because you're going to be using those all the time. So everything that you're going to be using, make sure that it's the easiest to access. The things that you're going to be using second or third most, right? Keep those at the top of your ruck, balancing between what's heavy and what you're going to be using most often. Because you're going to be reaching past your ACH and reaching past your water source to just get in there to find the one thing, and it can't be waterproofed. Your waterproof stuff, by the way, I like to keep those in my sustainment pouches, and if you fold them correctly, they will not be wet on the inside when you use them when you get out in the jungle and get all wet. So I keep my wet weather gear in here, and like I said, everything else that you're going to be using the most often.
Storm McCloud?
Yes.
When you said if you wrap them correctly, it'll be dry on the inside.
That's a great question. Let's talk about that. What I meant by wrap was fold, right? So you see how I've folded my wet weather gear to be such that the inside of it was not exposed, right? If I'm just like fucking putting it into a ball and sticking it in there, and then I pull it out and I expect it to be waterproof, yeah, it'll prevent me from getting more wet, but I start off wet. And that's not ideal. So, and I do that with my bottoms as well, which I have in the other sustainment pouch. Are there any questions? Okay. That is all.